Good morning. I wanted to share with you some of my reflections about this book that I bought yesterday called We Who Wrestle with God by Jordan Peterson. So some people think Jordan Peterson's a bit of a magical super Nazi. I have a bit of respect for him, so that's one reason I bought the book. But other than that, it's, this topic of God and religion is something that I've really always been attracted to, been drawn to. My friend Jeffrey Ross asked me the other day, he said, who should you discuss religion and politics with? And I said, for me, politics is something I can discuss with my close family, but religion is something I really love discussing with anybody and everybody. I remember my mum, she was the first person that would discuss ideas of religion and God with me as a young boy when she was putting me to bed. Also, my first girlfriend's mother, Elizabeth B., she would stay up until 4 a.m. with me, talking about all things Jehovah's Witness. She was a Jehovah's Witness, and we used to spend hours talking on these topics, and I really felt a sense of peace and homeliness and I guess love in those conversations. So, I don't normally post about this type of thing, but I thought I would today. I've read the first chapter, and I want to give you some reflections. But before I do that, just in terms of the title, look, there are some pros and cons with the title. The con, I guess, is that who wrestles with God? Well, whenever there's a wrestling match, you normally have two equal strengths, two equal, well-matched opponents. And, sometimes you have the intent to pin down or submit the other person. But for it to really be enjoyable for the wrestlers or the audience, you have to have sort of an equality about it. And I guess, if you talk about God, I guess many of you would agree with me. We're probably, less qualified to pin down or submit God than we would like to think. So there's an intimacy though. Like if you think about wrestling with God, it takes God out of the sky, out of this abstract type of beyond reach personality that can't be engaged with on a very intimate level, and it brings God down into your thoughts, into your conscience, and into each decision you make at every moment of your day. So that's one of the things I really like about it. It brings God out of this abstract, impersonal place into a very personal place. In Gaudiya Vaishnavism, some great elevated devotees of the Lord, in the stories we hear about them, have chastised the Lord, have had intimate quarrels with the Lord, with their lordships. So it reminds me of that, this kind of intimacy. The first chapter, look, I'm not going to claim to have understood it. There's some words in here that I'm still thinking about. But in the first chapter, Jordan Peterson basically talks about the fact that our perception, when we perceive through our listening and our seeing, we only perceive a thin slice of reality that we prioritize according to what goal we have. So if we're after food, we would prioritize that section of reality that relates to us achieving that goal. So he talks about the power of story and the power of narrative, and how a story draws the listener in to consider the highest values and in a safe way where the brain's, the mind's skepticism can be paused, much like humor. It can be paused, and there's this sort of bypass into this wonder about what's happening in the story and what the values are that are playing out. So I really highly recommend the book. I've only read the first chapter, and the reason I'm doing this is I spent 2 hours or 3 hours probably awake last night thinking about it. So I was completely absorbed. I've seen some of Jordan Peterson's lectures, and I've seen him live, and I've heard a lot of his YouTube videos. But one of the benefits of reading a book is that when there's something that you want to ruminate and reflect about, you can simply stop and pause and think about it for a few moments. Whereas with an audiobook or a YouTube video, you can't. You basically have to stop, you think, but because you're driving, you can't actually pause the video, so the lecture goes on and you miss things. So I really like the experience of reading. Anyway, that's enough from me. We Who Wrestle with God. Recommend it. If you want to discuss it with me, send me a message. I'd be happy to.